Alrighty then. Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Naven Gaming, where today we are reacting to another fat electrician video. It is How a Chicken Farmer and Inflatable Tanks won WW2, Agent Garbo and the Ghost Army. So, I thought I've seen a video like this before, but then when I look down and I see that this video is only like 5 days old, I realized, okay, so I've clearly heard this story somewhere else. I just don't know where. I thought it was from the Fat Electrician initially, but then I'm like, oh, maybe I heard it from somebody else as soon as I saw that. So I don't know. It's a little weird. Anyways, but yeah, in case nobody knows, the Fat Electrician is a storyteller. Is a storyteller on the YouTube end of things. He makes videos talking about some of the weirdest, most bizarre, if not just interesting things about history from the underground cheese bunkers to the fucking to the origins of the Little Caesars pizza chain to even like something as strange as like the ice cream ships of World War II, and among other things. He also covers really badass stories too, such as the ones from like what was it, Simone from Finland, who was declared as the White Devil according to the Soviets who invaded Finland over some stupid bullshit. And then there was he also covered other stories like the most gangster Marine. He also did Cassius Clay. That was probably my favorite one by far. It's probably one of the videos that got me introduced to him, to be honest, if I remember correctly. Cassius Clay was probably the cooler and more interesting story for me, but like he does a lot of interesting covers for different stories. He finds unique stories and he just tells them. He just tells them in a very Fat Electrician-y way because he's such a great storyteller. But anyways, that being said, let's not delay this any further. Please go like and support the original creator. Go subscribe if you haven't, like the video, and without further ado, go support your boy. And let's get into it.
Ah yes, the Spanish chicken farmer that trolled the Germans so hard that at most he is responsible for the Allies winning World War II, and at the very least he is responsible for World War II ending years in advance and saving hundreds of thousands of lives in the process. I cannot stress to you enough, I am not exaggerating. Today we're talking about Agent Garbo, aka Spanish chicken farmer, and a bunch of art majors with inflatable tanks, and how they became one of the most important, critical, deciding factors of all of World War II. They are quite literally the reason that D-Day worked. Okay, here's the deal. They don't teach you this in school, and you're not going to pick it up by watching Saving Private Ryan, but D-Day, the storming of the beach at Normandy, strategically speaking, on paper, was a horrible plan. Like, literally the worst plan available, okay? When you're trying to move in hundreds.
Yeah, because you were storming an entire beach with like mounted turrets on top of cliffside mountain ranges with bunkers covering them, and they were just raining lead down upon you as you ran across several bodies and zero cover. It's a wonder how we actually looked at this scenario and thought to ourselves, yeah, this seems an appropriate thing to do. This is exactly how we should be wasting our human resources. Just throw bodies at the problem until it dies. It's almost a Warhammer level of stupidity. Let's be honest. Like, that's a Warhammer level. That's like Warhammer levels of just throwing guardsmen at a problem and just hoping for the best. But yeah.
Hundreds of thousands of troops, tanks, trucks, equipment, artillery. You want the biggest beach available. Normandy, not the biggest beach available. More importantly, you want a harbor.
Really? But that one's the most harrowing one that I've heard of. Storming the beaches of Normandy is so widely talked about precisely for this reason. They've made movies around that shit. What do you mean?
You want somewhere for all your ships to be able to drop off all the troops and supplies. Guess what Normandy doesn't have? A harbor. And if that wasn't bad enough, half the beaches are covered in cliffs. Why are cliffs bad? Well, because the enemy is on top of the cliff, meaning the enemy has the high.
Oh, I see. He is describing why it's bad. Okay, never mind.
ground, and they're going to be shooting at you while you're trying to be a rock climber. And then if you make it to the top of the cliff, now your back is up against a cliff and you have nowhere to fall back to. Okay, and I know what you're thinking. Well, that does sound like a bad idea, but because it's a bad idea, the enemy's not going to be expecting it, and you're going to be doing what the enemy isn't expecting, which is going to give you an edge. Most of the time, yes, but in this case, no, absolutely not. Why? Well, because the two most likely places for the Allied forces to launch a major invasion were Calais and Schoenberg. They both had ports, they both had big beaches, they were the perfect locations to launch a massive offensive. And Normandy is right in between the two, meaning that Germany has a ton of soldiers both in Schoenberg and in Calais, and it's not going to take them long to send their troops to Normandy to reinforce it and crush the entire offensive. Okay, if you're not picking up what I'm putting down, I'm trying to tell you that the beaches of Normandy are quite literally the meat and cheese of an ass-whooping sandwich, and the plan should not have worked. And the only reason that it did was because of a chicken farmer and a bunch of theater kids, and we're going to get into it right after word from our sponsor. This video is brought to you by Sundays. It's food for dogs. Isn't that right, Mushu? All right. Okay. Calm down. Anyways, Sundays for Dogs is dog food that's made with a bunch of human ingredients like, actual meat and not, ground up cartilage and pig dicks. The food actually looks different. Like, it actually looks like beef jerky. It doesn't smell like a bunch of dehydrated dog food. It's air dried. It's made here in America. Mushu loves it, and it's pretty much the only thing he'll eat now. Nope. It's like all the other fancy dog foods with none of the downsides, right? You don't have to open a can every time you go to feed your dog. You don't have to stick this shit inside your refrigerator, and you can get it as a subscription service, so it just keeps showing up to your house because
I hate the idea of having to stick cat food in my fucking refrigerator. There's nothing that I hate more than opening up the fridge and then suddenly have a terrible wafting smell coming from the fridge. It's just like... And then you go and you try to cook the food, especially if it's like produce. It's like you go, you want to make food, right? And then all you can smell, sometimes even the taste of the smell is on the food. Just pisses me right the fuck off. It's a good thing we don't store cat food in the fridge. At least not anymore. I remember hating that shit when I was a kid. Like, I don't remember what it was. It probably wasn't cat food in particular, but I remember we stuck some things in the fridge that I was just like, as a kid, I was just like, no, I can taste it on the food. I hate it.
Because at least for me, every time I had dog food on my grocery shopping list, I would always forget. Then I had to make a trip just for dog food.
I'm a very smell-sensitive guy. Like, I hate foreign smells on anything. Even if it's just, like, body odor, it's like, ugh. Like, I feel like I need to go, like, especially if I taste it, it's like I have to go, like, rinse my mouth out every time I taste a foreign smell in my mouth. It's annoying. I'm a very weird, finicky kind of guy in that sense, but, it is what it is.
So it's nice to have it just show up at the house. So if you want to give Sundays a try, I'm going to have a link and a discount code down below. Let's get back to the video.
Chapter 1, The Chicken Farmer.
Our story begins in 1912 in Barcelona, Spain, when Juan Pujol Garcia is born. He grows up as the son of a farmer in the early 1900s. When he turns 18 years old, Spain at this point in time has mandatory military service. He goes off, he serves in the military for 6 months, hates it the entire time. He just wants to go back home and raise chickens. So he finishes up his military service.
That's fair, I probably hated too.
Goes back home, has his own little poultry farm, and he's just living life for a couple of years. And then when he's 24 in 1936, Spain is thrust into civil war.
Oh, my cabbages!
Now, I'm oversimplifying this, but essentially the Spanish Civil War had two factions. You had the Republic, which were fascist, and then you had a socialist revolution, okay? So you've got extreme left-wing ideology and you've got extreme right-wing ideology, both of which are renowned for not getting along with one another. And Juan doesn't care. He hated being in the military. He doesn't want to be involved. He literally just wants to be left alone to raise his chickens and live life. But that's not really how civil...
He sounds like me. I can relate. I can relate pretty hard. I just, want to be left the fuck alone. Alright? If you ask me to do my basic civil duties, I will. But even that's becoming a chore. Because I see what they've been doing with our taxes. And I'm really questioning the idea of whether or not I actually want to continue funding the government. I mean, for fuck's sake. There's actually an interesting controversy and conversation going on about, like, their recent decision to kind of revoke EBT and food stamps. And it's like, on one hand, I can understand why people would be pissed off about that. But then when you see the amount of videos that people have been posting, about how they will get a lot of food out of taxpayer money, and the only thing they had to pay was like $4, maybe $5, maybe $80, depending on like the amount of groceries that they got. Like some people will get 3 grocery carts worth of food, and it's not. Here's the thing that's really sickening about this, right? It's one thing if it's good food, right? It's one thing if it's good food. This is garbage. A lot of the food stamps that people be that people be buying with their food, like a lot of the food that they be buying with their food stamps is primarily garbage. Like they'll get fruits and some vegetables, right? But a lot of it is just garbage, just junk. Yeah, they're buying Lay's chips, Cheetos. They're buying fucking all kinds of fucking shit. They're buying Pop-Tarts. They're buying cereal. Not even healthy cereals, not ones with whole grain or any of that other shit. It's all just garbage cereal. They're buying all kinds of terrible shit with the food stamps. And it's like, even as someone who works at a fucking retail chain, it's like, I had no idea food stamps were not only this lucrative at helping you save money, but also gave you the worst amount of options when it comes to healthy eating. It's like, what the fuck is this? And people wonder why we have a health problem in America. It's crazy. It's crazy. Fuck. Also, if I could save a lot of money, just in general, that'd be great. Like maybe I should consider getting into the food stamps because saving money on food would just be great. It'd just be so great. Especially for my folks too, because we're not exactly that wealthy. We're not exactly that healthy we're nothing to scoff at. And so it's like, just the idea we could save hundreds of thousands of dollars on groceries alone. It's just like, imagine what you could do with that kind of spending money. Goddamn. I feel like a lot of people, especially a lot of ground floor employees, people who only get paid like minimum wage, they're probably going to need that shit now more than ever before as well. They're probably going to all need to be on food stamps because that's the only way you could possibly make a living and still have something to pay the bills, among other things, and also maybe have a little bit of change on the side, just have a little bit of savings. It's like you have to find every avenue and shortcut under the sun, and it's like, I would hate to be the kind of person who has to do that. But, granted, it's terrible out here. Like the hustle is real. I can't blame people for doing this. But at the same time, right, I don't think I'd be gloating about it on the fucking internet. Like a stupid person. It's like, oh yeah, look at all the food that I bought with food stamps. And it's apparently funded by taxpayer money. It's like, what the fuck is going on? What? I could be wrong about this, but I could have swore someone, when I was listening to this, because I watched an Asmongold video talk about this. I watched a couple of, I think one other video. It's apparently government funded, which means it's probably taxpayer funded. Which, I mean, that's just fucking king. Like, you're basically living the life of a politician at that point.
Civil Wars work. So what ends up happening is the
anyways,
socialists
enough about
determine that his mother and his sister are not sympathetic to the socialist revolution, and they throw them in prison. Shortly after that,
Oof.
Juan is conscripted to fight in the socialist military, the same people that just arrested his mother and sister, so obviously not a big fan. He refuses to do it.
Believe it or not, jail right away.
From here, he's in jail for a little while, then he ends up getting broken out of jail by a bunch of counter-revolutionaries that help give him a fake ID that says he's old enough to not have to get drafted. From here, Juan is like, perfect, okay, great.
Damn.
I'm gonna go back home, I'm gonna raise my chickens, I'm gonna mind my own business, I'm just gonna live my life the way I want to. He goes back home to his farm, finds out that the socialist revolution has seized his farm for the war effort, and basically tell him to fuck off, it's their farm now, you can't have it back.
Ah, my cabbages!
And as I'm sure you can imagine, if Juan didn't already hate socialism, he sure as shit does now. So he decides that he's going to go and help the team that's fighting against the socialists. The problem is he can't really get to the front lines to join that side. So he ends up joining the Socialist Revolutionary Army, volunteering to run communication lines on the front line. And then as soon as he gets close enough to the enemy line, he literally just takes off running, goes to the enemy side, and is like defecting to join their military instead. To which the Republic, the fascist regime that he's trying to join, is more than happy to accept him and let him fight against the socialists. No, I'm just kidding. They don't believe him. They think he's a spy, so they beat the shit out of him, and then they throw him in jail. At this point, Juan realizes both of these guys are assholes. He doesn't want to be involved in any of this. He just wants to go home and raise his chickens. From here, the Spanish Civil War ends in April of 1939. A couple of months after that, in September of 1939, World War II kicks off. To which Juan looks at the sides that are fighting. You know, you've got the UK doing their monarchy, democracy type stuff. Then you've got the USSR doing communism.
The UK is looking like a real shit show these days, but yeah.
Which is just extreme socialism, not really a fan of that. And then you've got Germany, ran by the Nazis, which quite literally stands for the National Socialist German Workers' Party.
Don't like that.
Okay, nationalist, not necessarily synonymous with fascism, but it is one of the cornerstones, followed by the word socialism and German Workers' Party. Okay, it's literally everything he hates wrapped up in one big ball of white supremacy. So Juan decides, fuck those guys, I'm gonna do everything I can to fight them.
You're gonna pay for this!
So he goes to Madrid.
I mean, at this point, he was practically geared for this. He was mentally traumatized and physically traumatized to be put in this position. So, you know, I feel like that's pretty apt.
To the British embassy and volunteers to be a spy. The British are like, dude, you're a chicken farmer in a neutral country. You provide absolutely no value to us. Kick rocks, we don't want your help. Go away. At this point, Juan realizes that telling the truth isn't working, so he's gonna start lying. He goes, pays off some dude that runs the printing press to make him what appears to be a fake diplomatic passport like a politician would have that would grant him access into Great Britain. He then takes his counterfeit politician passport, goes to the German embassy in Madrid, and says, hey, I'm a Spanish politician. I just got orders that I'm gonna be stationed in London for the next couple of years. I'm sympathetic to the Nazi cause. I want to be a spy for you guys.
Ooh, that's a bingo.
And apparently the counterfeit passport was good enough because the Germans believed him.
Damn. So this man literally side-upped himself into going to fucking... He literally went to the nation he hated most just to fuck with them, is what I'm getting this. Is where this is going. This is funny. This is getting interesting.
From here, the Germans give him training on how to secretly communicate with them like a spy would. Basically, he's gonna write a normal letter in Spanish like he's mailing it off to a friend, just talking about daily life or whatever random bullshit. And then in between the lines of the letter, he's gonna use invisible ink and ciphers given to him by the German to convey secret intel, and then he's gonna mail it to a particular address. From here, the Germans give him a bunch of invisible ink, the address he needs to mail the letters to. They give him 600 pounds to buy whatever spy equipment he needs, and then they give him a list of intel that they're looking for. Presumably, this is like the test to make sure that this guy's legit. If he can go and get this intel that we already know and show that it's accurate, he's going to prove to be a reliable spy. It's a bunch of questions like, what is the makeup of the Strategic Bombing Command of the UK? Where is this factory? What do they produce there? Yada, yada, yada. A bunch of shit they already know. But if he can figure all this out and then give them the correct information and they can verify it's correct, then he can probably go out and find information that they don't have that would actually be valuable to them. Then they give him the codename Alaric and send him on his way, and as far as the Germans are concerned, he is headed off to London. The real problem, Juan can't get to London. He doesn't actually have a diplomatic passport. He has no viable reason for being there, and while the counterfeit passport worked on the Germans, it's not going to work on the British because it's their passport. They're going to know what a counterfeit looks like.
I'm gonna need to see some identification.
Really? Makes me feel young again.
So Juan decides he's going to get as close as he can, which is Lisbon in Portugal. So he heads off to Lisbon, gets a job working at the public library, and then uses his position at the library to get up-to-date newspapers, encyclopedias, military textbooks, and figures out the answers to all of the questions that the Germans had and sends off a letter verifying that he's a reputable spy. And of course, he gets all the answers correct or correct enough, and the Germans believe him, so now he's a reputable spy in the eyes of the Nazis. He then goes a step further and uses up-to-date British newspapers to find rental listings and picks out an apartment for, however much it costs a month and tells the Germans, hey, I'm living here renting this apartment, and the Germans start paying his rent for him even though he's not even living there.
What?
That's so good. Wait, that's actually funny. This guy is actually goated. What the fuck?
Idiot! Oh, what a loser! Good.
From here, the Germans want him to build out an entire spy network, basically covering all of England. They want spies outside of military installations to track troop movements. They want spies at all the major ports and harbors tracking shipping movements. They want spies all over England. Problem, Juan isn't even in England. He's still in Portugal working at a library, so he just starts making shit up. He starts writing the Germans, coming up with all these elaborate lies of all the new agents that he's acquired that are completely fictional. He's like, yeah, I've got, Agent Gimbal who lives in Liverpool. He's of Portuguese descent, and he's going to keep an eye on the harbor for us. I've got Agent Carvel, and he's of German descent. He lives in Wales. He's going to be tracking shipping movements over there, and he just does it and keeps building out this massive fake spy network that doesn't even exist. And
This man is the greatest liar of all time. This is the biggest psyop I have ever seen. It is wild. I love this guy. This guy is so good. What the fuck is this story? Oh my god.
And then he convinces the Germans all of his spies need to get paid, so he's getting
No, he fucking This is so fucking good. They don't even send anyone to verify or check this. This is crazy. Oh my god. They don't even send someone to verify, maybe check to see if maybe this operation does need the money and funding that it needs. No. They're just like, oh yeah, this guy's actually pretty apt. He seems to know he seems to know his stuff. He clearly is a really top-notch agent. We're gonna give him whatever salary he needs to make sure he's still running the ship.
the wages of all of the spies in his network that don't even exist.
And I make nothing. Zero. Zilch. By the time I pay all my scientists and my research department lab coats, it's a wash.
So from here, as far as the Germans are concerned, he's basically worked himself into like mid-level management of this spy network, and he's not actually doing any spying himself. He's just managing the 20 other spies and relaying all the intel. Now, Juan realizes this as well, and he realizes the beauty of it because now he can just start telling the Germans ridiculous shit that he pulls out of his ass, and if he gets called out on it, he can just blame it on the spy below him that doesn't actually exist.
And then he can just erase the spy. And then replace him with a new spy. And the Germans would believe that. This is so fucking funny. He's got it made, man. He's got it made. God, that is actually hilarious. I have so many thoughts right now. It's crazy. I have so many thoughts. No, I'm not gonna do it. I don't want to get into another pedantic tangential rant. Let's not do this.
Right? Like, if he comes up with some crazy story to get the Germans to do something stupid, it's not falling back on Agent Alaric, it's falling back on Agent Gimbal or whoever gave him the faulty intel, and then they can fire that guy and he gets to keep his job. From here, he just starts lying. He just feeds the Germans lines of bullshit that's completely made up out of his own head while he's sitting in a public library in Portugal. For example, he's just like, okay, what would the British maybe be up to that would interest the Germans? Like, oh, aircraft carriers are a big deal in World War II. Yeah, the British are designing some super massive mega aircraft carrier and they're testing it on, let me check my encyclopedia at the library, the biggest lake in Britain, Lake Windermere. Yeah, they're testing the new super carrier on Lake Windermere, sends that off to the Germans, just complete made up bullshit. And it's working. So he's like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to throw a Hail Mary. I'm going to start actually being disruptive to the Germans. I'm going to start physically impacting the outcome of this war.
Let's fucking go. This man went from just being like, ha, I'm literally trolling these fools, to where he's just like, ha, I am actually going to troll these fools. We're gonna graduate from troll to hater real fucking fast.
Tells the Germans that his spy up in Liverpool spotted a massive British naval convoy, and they're setting off. They're going to sail along the coastline, go through Gibraltar, and resupply all the Allied troops in Malta, and it's going to be a big deal. So the Germans are freaking out. They're like, holy shit, we're going to go take out this massive convoy with our warships and our submarines, and it's going to be a huge win for the Nazis. Hooray. Obviously, the convoy doesn't actually exist, but the Germans send out a massive naval detachment to go look for it for like weeks, and they never find shit. Now he's having a real effect on the outcome of World War II. He's having thousands of German naval personnel on warships go out, wasting their time, burning through fuel, using up their assets. That naval detachment could be out there attacking somebody else, and he's just wasting their time. He's having a real tangible effect on the outcome of World War II. And while this is going on, unbeknownst to him, British intelligence, MI6, has developed the Ultra Machine, which is like a predecessor to the computer. It's a gigantic calculator, and they're using it to break encrypted Nazi radio.
Yeah, it's the Enigma code. It's just exactly that. It's just the encrypted Nazi like radio network that basically relays orders that's usually transcribed or ciphered by the people in charge, and they change the codes frequently, so you can't actually use one code that you learn from like one person to basically encrypt all knowledge given from and to different like fortifications and bases and outposts by different leaders. You actually have to be up to date with the actual codes and things to be able to decipher most of the shit that gets passed around, which is funny. But yeah, the idea that this guy, the problem that I see immediately with this is that if he fucks up too much and he fucks up too big, the Nazis are probably going to actually send out a group of people to kind of monitor whether or not he's actually, like doing his job and doing it correctly, or if maybe there's just something really fucked with this whole spy network thing. Because clearly, because at some point, right, if you fuck up too much, like you're going to get those people concerned that maybe there's something wrong with the spy network, and they're going to start debating if whether or not they want to keep employing you to spy for them. And so naturally, right, you don't want them to send out a detachment of people to go investigate whether or not your spy network even exists, let alone if it actually functions. And it's the last thing you want. So I imagine that he has to put some actual effort into it sometimes so that way he at least keeps up the airs that, yeah, he's actually breaking codes. He's actually doing his job. He's getting correct information more often than not, right? I imagine that he only fucks with the Nazis when it comes to really important shit.
Traffic. And when a massive naval detachment goes out on a convoy, there's going to be some radio traffic about it. And they're intercepting all this radio traffic where the Germans are looking for a massive British supply convoy to go take it out. And the British are like, what the fuck are they talking about? There's no convoy. Why do they think that we have a massive convoy going on? So they think that the Germans have a spy out there somewhere and launch a massive manhunt looking for this German spy. And obviously, they're looking for him in London around Liverpool because that's where he would be to have that intel or that mistaken intel or to get that false impression, and they never find him because he's in Lisbon, in Portugal, at a public library, fucking with the Nazis. A couple of months go by, it's like mid-1942, he's been messing with the Germans for about a year now, so he decides that he's gonna go to the British embassy in Lisbon and tell them like, hey, here's all this intel, the Germans trust me, I wanna be a double agent spy for you guys. The British, super skeptical, start vetting the guy, and they see that he was the one responsible for the convoy fiasco, and they're like, holy shit, we found the guy. He's not in the UK, he's over in Lisbon. Oh, fuck. So he immediately gets hired. They give him the code name Garbo, referring to a famous actress at the time that was renowned as the best actress in the world.
That's such a funny name, though, because Garbo means such a different thing now. It has a different connotation today than it does back then, if that's the case. But it's funny that Real life is sometimes the funniest thing, man. Garb. I'm sorry. That's just so funny. It's Agent Garbo feeding garbage information to the Nazis. It's just so good. It's just so funny. It's practically parody at this point.
But they think he's the best actor in the world because he's leading the Germans on this wild goose chase. So they move him over to Britain, and he is working out of MI6 headquarters. From here, because now he has real British intel, the lies get more strategic. They get more accurate, but not in a helpful way, but the Germans don't realize that. So he's gaining more and more trust with the Germans because his quality of intel continues to go up. But then he almost gets caught being a double spy because the Germans found out that there was a massive naval convoy that just left Liverpool that Garbo didn't report on. So they go back to Garbo and they're like, hey, we know you have a spy in the area whose whole job is to look over this harbor. Why didn't you report this to us so we could do something about it? To which Garbo was like, yeah, that guy, he died, actually. Yeah, no, he was in the hospital sick for a couple of weeks, and he's dead now. And then had the British take all of the, the fictional story, because the Germans knew the guy's name and his code name and his descent and all these fucking fictional details that he had created, and had the British put an obituary in the British newspaper for this fictional man, and then he sent them the obituary. To which...
Oh my god. When the lies get so heinous, so downright diabolical, so fucking nefarious, that it becomes reality. The fiction becomes reality. This is unreal. This is crazy. This story is amazing. I love it. This has everything you could ever want. Oh, you could write a fucking movie with this script, and it'd be the funniest fucking comedy under the goddamn sun. I would personally turn this into a comedy if I was in charge of writing a script for this fucking thing, because these are just funny, like, fuck you level details against the Nazis that had to be born into existence in real life, that on some level for it to make sense, that it's just so fish. This is so good. This is just so good. They had to make the story real for the Germans to believe it. I fucking love it. It's great. It's fucking good. Why is this not a movie? Why is this not a thing that we haven't seen? I want this to be real so bad in some form of work or entertainment. It's like this is just so funny. I want this turned into a movie, goddammit. Make this into a TV show even. Like, I don't fucking care. This is too funny not to be made into reality. And I don't care if they have to flub some of the details for the to make it more interesting in comparison to historical inaccuracies, okay? This whole thing is written to be a fiction, okay? They're using fictional scenarios, characters, and a fucking spy network to fuck with Nazis. This is a layer and level of fuckery that we cannot dispute. It is so great. I want to see this turned into something. I want a movie about this. I want a TV show made out of this. Something. It's just too good to pass up, but I know America is fucking terrible when it comes to actually using good ideas. So you know what? We're never gonna get it, but if somebody decides to make it, God, I'd love to see it.
Which the Germans sent their condolences and severance pay for his widow.
Damn you, Roger.
Could you imagine having to play poker against this guy? He's the greatest bullshitter of all time. Like, if this were a video game, he put all of his skill points in charisma, because the Germans just seem to believe every line of bullshit that comes out of his mouth. Dude literally got this close to getting caught as a double agent and somehow manages to pull out a huge sum of money and get paid for it while also still being considered a reliable source. No!
I mean, he got Britain to help provide support on that front because they had to create an entire fake scenario of one of his agents getting fucked over for the story to be true. But there is something to be said about how fucking hilarious this whole situation is.
Story, it gets even better.
And I already went on a entire
the
tangent about
Allies
it.
launched Operation Torch, which was like the big advance into North Africa. Massive naval operation, huge offensive. It would be a big deal if the Germans found out and knew about this plan, right? So what they do is they don't report on it. But the Germans are going to wonder, hey, why didn't you fucking report on this? Because we know you have spies. We can't say another guy died of illness in the hospital. What are we going to do? So Garbo comes up with a plan. He's going to write extremely detailed, 100% accurate, like how many ships are leaving the port, where are they going, when are they going to get there, when's the attack, the whole 9 yards, writes it all up, has the British government post stamp it like a week before the attack so they have time to do something about it, but then just hangs on to the letter until the day the attack happens and then mails it off. So the British get 100% accurate information that would have a huge impact on the battle, but they get it too late. And from the German perspective, after they're reading this letter, they're like, holy shit, this is exactly what happened. This would have been gold if we would have gotten it on time, but this letter got delayed in the wartime mail. They were so pleased with the level of intel because the mail being slow isn't Garbo's fault, and he did a great job. So they give him a huge bonus and then give a 50% pay bump to the 20+ person spy network that doesn't even fucking exist.
This is so fucking hilarious. He is such a fucking troll, I swear to God. This guy this story gets better and better the more I hear it. It's amazing. They find every excuse under the sun to fuck with these people. It's not even it's fucking good. How do they believe this shit, by the way? Like, not once this entire time have they considered maybe actually sending someone to actually verify this operation is actually running as smoothly as it could be. Like, they don't have other spies. Like, they don't have other people who are, like, professional spies who could go in and basically be like, I hear a lot of good things about this agent over here in Lisbon. Or, you know, like, I want to see how everything is going, you know, like, how the whole operation's going. And they just send someone there to just be like, so, yeah, tell me about your operation, right? You know, like, not one of them, not one time has the Nazis thought about fact-checking this. It's so fucking funny. How does he keep getting away with this? So fucking good. God damn.
I haven't cried like that since Titanic.
And then they're like, Alaric, Garbo, same guy, is too valuable of an asset. His intel is worth so much, we can't afford to have him being delayed in the wartime post. So they arrange for him to get German radio equipment, an up-to-date Enigma machine with up-to-date ciphers. And he has everything to communicate with the Germans.
Oh my God.
Have the COS, please. Oh, I'm so happy! I'm so happy! This is the best day of my life!
So now, every time the Germans change the Enigma code in the Enigma machine, they don't need to crack it and develop the new cipher. They literally send the new cipher to their spy that's actually working for the British. Alaric, aka Garbo, aka a fucking chicken farmer from Spain, is now the most trusted, high-value spy that the Germans have from their perspective. And because of that, the Allies have him work on the most important deception mission of World War II, Operation Fortitude.
Nice. The Ghost Army.
Operation Fortitude, it is basically one gigantic psyop. It is the miscommunication campaign to set the stage for D-Day. Now, D-Day in that of itself is pretty controversial. The British did not want to do D-Day. It's a big, risky move, having this massive amphibious landing. It could draw out the war for years or lose the war entirely if it fails, so the British wanted to take the more conservative route of going through North Africa, taking over Italy, and then pushing into the rest of Europe. Okay, nothing wrong with that. That's a good plan. However, it's going to make the war last longer, and the longer war lasts, the more resources you have to use, the more people are going to die, and most importantly, America's got to wrap this shit up because we've got another war scheduled with Korea in like 7 years, so we gotta get this ball rolling. Okay, on top of that, the Soviets are getting absolutely massacred on the Eastern Front, and if the Germans take over there, they're gonna have access to all the Soviet resources, and the Germans are gonna get even stronger, or potentially even worse, if somehow the Soviets pull it out of their ass and they win and they invade, they're gonna take over all of Europe, and I don't fucking like the communists either, so we're not gonna have either of those options. We gotta get in there, fuck shit up, and leave. Okay, General Eisenhower Eisenhower's the Supreme Allied Commander. He's the one running the show, and he's an American, and America says we're doing D-Day. Guess what? We're doing D-Day. Now, obviously, I'm paraphrasing to a disgusting degree, but this is more or less how the conversation goes. Fuck, fine, we'll do the D-Day massive amphibious landing thing. Where do you want to do it? The most obvious place is going to be Calais. It's right across the Strait of Dover. That's named after a guy named Ben, right? What? Nothing, sorry, please continue. Okay, the upside of Calais is it's got a harbor. We can land a bunch of troops there. It'd be a good access point. The problem is the Germans have fortified the ever-living fuck out of it and have a ton of soldiers there because it's the most obvious place that we're gonna invade. All right, so we won't go there. What else you got? Well, there's Schorenberg, but it's pretty much the same thing. It's the next obvious place, so the Germans have fortified it. All right, what else you got? Well, I guess the Germans probably wouldn't be expecting Normandy, but there's no harbor and it's covered in cliffs. That's perfect. We're storming the beaches of Normandy. I mean, okay, what about the cliffs? No problem. We'll teach all the boys how to rock climb. We'll have boats that shoot rocket-propelled grappling hooks up the cliff, and then we'll have boats with giant firemen's ladders that go up with machine guns on top and mow down the enemy while the boys are rock climbing. Okay, well, there's a lot of like rivers and ravines and creeks and stuff in that area. What if the Germans blow up the bridges and then our tanks get caught up in these little ravines and they can't cross? We'll build bridges, we'll strap them to tanks, and we'll bring the bridges with us. Okay, humor me. Let's just assume all of that works. What about the lack of a harbor? Don't worry about that. We'll make one back home in America and bring it with us. I'm sorry, I think you misheard what I said. I said harbor, you know, like the terrain feature. Yeah, motherfucker, did I stutter? We'll build one and bring it with us. I'm sorry, just so we're on the same page. You're gonna build a terrain feature in America and bring it with you to the invasion. Yeah.
Why? I mean, it was it really this bad? It could not be this bad. I mean, granted, I feel like, you know, like a lot of people, like when it comes to history like that, there's a lot of flying by the seat of your own pants type of logic that happens, especially during World War II, where it's just like, we'll just throw men at the problem until it dies. There is some instances like that, like Normandy is the biggest one, but it's like, the idea you could just conjure up resources to just throw literally anything at a problem. I mean, you can give America that we are certainly a resourceful bunch, but it's like, Jesus Christ, the amount of shit you would have and to be prepared for. It's like, there's got to be a lot of useless shit in every given military operation, just by the sound of this entire conversation. It's like, do we really need to have bridges? Do we really need to have ladders that extend outwards with machine gun placements? Like, do we really need all these things? I mean, probably not. But I mean, like, if, you know, like, it's better to prepare for it, right? Anyways, I'm moving on.
Yes, it's not that complicated. We're going to call it a Mulberry Harbor. It's going to work great. Okay, if you think that's impressive,
I'm noticing that my mic is picking up the sound.
Just trust me, we're going to figure it out. Okay, I guess.
Fix that. Let me see
What do you need from us? Well, you and the boys over at MI6 got the best spy network in the world. I need you to convince the Germans that we are, in fact, going to attack exactly where they think we're going to attack, over in Calais, to take a bunch of pressure off of Normandy so we have time to get in there and invade. Okay, I mean, we could fake radio traffic and give them false intel, but they're going to have aerial reconnaissance in the area, and they're going to see that we're not building up a massive army to invade, and they're going to know that we're lying. Okay, so we'll put a massive army there. Yeah, problem, we only have one massive army, so if we put it right across the Strait of Dover from Ben Dover. I get your joke now.
Hey there, sorry about that. Apparently, when I was looking at my audio settings, apparently something got fucked over immediately as soon as I went into my audio settings, so I had to fix that real quick. Everything seems to be functioning, sound seems to be coming through, so nothing too major, I think, happened. Let's see, sound. Yeah, sorry for that. Okay, yeah, seems fine. Yeah, alright. Okay. Sorry about that. Let's go ahead and resume.
Across the Strait of Dover from Ben Dover. I get your joke now. Yeah, anyways, if we put the massive army right across the Strait of Calais, How on earth are we going to put the massive army where we need it over in Normandy to actually invade? We're going to fake it, obviously. Okay, here's the deal. I've got like 1,100 artsy-fartsy theater kid art majors that I don't really know what to do with. We're going to put them in charge of this, and they're going to build a fake ghost army that's going to imitate a massive invasion force. So I need you guys to start building fake wooden planes and fake wooden landing ships. I'm going to call the people that make the Macy's Day Parade floats, and I'm going to have them make us like 1,000 inflatable tanks, a bunch of inflatable trucks, and a bunch of inflatable artillery pieces, and we'll start staging up for a massive invasion. And that's pretty much what happened. America sets about creating a ghost army that's ran by 1,100 art majors known as the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops, and they are sent over right across the Strait of Dover to set up this massive fake army. They start setting everything up and staging it so aerial reconnaissance sees it, and while that's going on, Garbo and the rest of the MI6 spy network is sending fake intel to the German high command being like, hey, we just had 15,000 new troops come in. We just had a bunch of tanks come in. They're setting up. They're gonna invade Calais. They brought in more troops. Oh, now there's even more. They've got 150,000 men ready to invade Calais. And then somebody got a really good idea to sell this to the Germans. You see, a couple of months prior in 1943, Patton got in a ton of trouble and got basically yanked out of World War II because he was in an aid station and there was a couple of soldiers with shell shock, basically severe crippling PTSD. And hard-ass General Patton was under the impression that these guys were faking it so they didn't have to go off and fight in the war, so he decided to beat a couple of them up. It really pissed off the American people. Eisenhower was furious, so he ends up getting yanked out of World War II. But the Germans never actually believed that America was going to pull their best fighting general out of World War II because he roughed up a couple of privates. So they've been thinking the entire time that Patton is off somewhere on some covert mission building up an invasion force getting ready to attack. So they bring Patton in as bait. They start calling this massive fake army FUSAG or First Army Group, and they've got Patton parading around getting his picture taken. He's in newspapers. The Germans are obviously monitoring that. Then they've got Garbo, their most trusted spy, relaying the info that Patton's here. He's the one leading this massive army, and the Germans buy it. Hook, line, and sinker.
This is just too easy.
So the Germans are like, if America's sending their best general to attack Calais, we're going to send our best general. They send Erwin Rommel up there with like 150 to 200,000 soldiers. 19 infantry divisions and 2 armored divisions are all now in Calais waiting for Patton to come. This is it. This is going to be the epic showdown between General Patton and Erwin Rommel, the two most well-known generals of World War II. Except it's not, because it's all bullshit.
It's the side up, isn't it?
The days leading up to D-Day, Garbo and MI6 really set the stage. They tell them like the day before D-Day that a bunch of more troops just showed up, and it's going to be 2 weeks at the earliest that America's going to launch this attack. So if there's anything that happens before then, it's obviously going to be a diversion to try to get you to take some of your troops out of Calais to soften up the target for Patton. Because of this, Erwin Rommel on June 5th, aka the day before D-Day, is like, sweet, I've got some time to kill. Tomorrow, June 6th, again, D-Day, is my wife's birthday, so I'm going to go back home to Germany so I can play hide the bratwurst and celebrate. So Erwin Rommel leaves. D-Day happens, he's in Germany. He's not even in France. So while the birthday girl's laying on the bed pretending her feet hate each other, 156,000 Allied troops hit the beaches of Normandy. And because the Germans are...
This is the funniest way of saying... This is the funniest way to make that innuendo, just like pretending that... I'm sorry, that was just a random funny insert.
Convinced that America's going to attack at Calais, there's only
never heard of it before.
25,000 Germans defending the beaches of Normandy. So the plan is working. Rommel hears that there's an invasion that gets launched. He makes a beeline back to his headquarters right outside of Paris, France. He doesn't actually get there until June 7th, D-Day +1. He immediately does the worst thing possible for the Allied forces. He sends 40,000 infantry troops and an entire armored division from Calais down to Normandy. Okay, this is going to be absolutely catastrophic to D-Day. That's going to triple the amount of Germans guarding the beach and add a fuck ton of tanks on top of that. The absolute best case scenario is this adds tens of thousands of Allied forces dying, and the worst case scenario, it means that D-Day is going to fail as a whole. And it's more than likely going to be the second one, because if Rommel rolls up with a bunch of tanks, he is going to drive the American forces back into the ocean, and it is going to be Dunkirk 2.0 all over again. And then a chicken farmer from Spain saves the day. Garbo,
Here we
Alaric, the
go.
most trusted German spy, sends a transmission to German high command that the attack at Normandy is a feint, it's a ruse, it's just a distraction. Do not pull your men out of Calais. And this makes it all the way into German high command and all the way to Hitler himself. And Hitler signs off on the order for Rommel to turn his forces around and go back to Calais and wait for Patton. Literally
That's
creating the timeline.
fucking crazy. Wait, that's actually crazy. What? So convincing. He even gets Hitler to sign off on it. That is insane. That's actually insane. Oh my god. This guy truly is the greatest double agent of all time. Oh my god. I would hate this. I would hate for this man to eventually become a politician. I would hate for a guy like this to be a politician. Can you fucking imagine? Actually, depending on where he, like, how he leans and the kind of things he wants from the political sector, I imagine that it won't necessarily be a bad thing, because if he's using the tactics against the establishment to essentially make the country a better place overall, rather than continuing to fill and feed the mouths and the guts of the most annoying people under the sun. I forgot that was a thing. There we go. Sorry about that. It's crazy. I forgot that this thing has like a phone Bluetooth. I had gotten that set up a while back. But it's like, I don't need it right now. Well, let me just turn that off. Anyways, sorry about that. That was a little weird. But that is so crazy. I can't believe this is a thing. But yeah, someone like this would absolutely fuck the political system. I would actually like that. That's kind of how people view Donald Trump, right? They see him as a guy who was going to come in and really stick it to the political system. Just really fuck with it. You know, just completely bull in a china shop, just wreck house. And that is not exactly what happened, sadly, but that is what people wanted. That's certainly what I fucking wanted. Fuck this. Fuck the old fogies in office. I hate those fucking people. But anyways, this is so great. This story's been so fascinating. It's been so amazing so far. They really should make some type of comedy movie out of this. And it should be delivered in a very comedic fashion. A lot of these details should be delivered in comedic fashion. Otherwise, it just wouldn't be... I mean, like, yeah, you could make it a serious sort of like... a serious sort of like espionage type of drama if you want. But it's like... I feel like this would serve better as just a fucking form of comedy. It'd also mean that I'd get more people on board to want to go see the movie, especially nowadays when people don't even want to leave their fucking houses to go watch a movie. Like, I've debated going to the theaters a couple of times. And even if distance wasn't a factor, like it is for me, you know, like, the idea you want to spend, like, a good amount of money, probably like a video game's worth, like a AAA new, freshly released video game's worth of dollars to go watch a fucking 2-hour movie is a big ask these days. So... definitely, you want to make that money worth it. You really want to make something that's going to make that time investment worth it. And I feel like this would be the way to do it. Oh. You know, I hit the button, but...
we live in today where D-Day was a success, and the cherry on top, Hitler then signs off on an order to award Garbo, Alaric, the Iron Cross, which is literally the Nazi equivalent of the Medal of Honor.
Oh, we actually got a lot of those. Some of the guys use them as paperweights.
Garbo has Hitler so convinced that this attack is coming at
my
Calais
God.
that Rommel leaves his forces there for 6 weeks. And by then, it's too late.
This is
So the
amazing.
invasion of Normandy works because of Garbo and the Ghost Army, and then after that, the Ghost Army gets deployed into France. And from here, they go full PSYOP mode. They would roll up to wherever a real infantry division was. They would then paint that infantry division's logo on all of their inflatable shit, and then have their same patches. And then while that unit moved out, they would pretend to still be that unit in the same spot, so the Germans don't know where an entire division disappeared to, because they still think it's right there. And the level they went to make it look like they were legitimately the unit they had replaced was incredible. The Ghost Army had their own Morse code guys, and they were going to be blasting out fake radio transmissions, fake Morse code, fake everything.
I remember hearing this bit of the story. It is the best op of all time. It's crazy how all of this flows in together. It's amazing. I love it. This is great. This is why history is often the most interesting subject. Even if you're someone who isn't, like, here's the problem with history, right, is that a lot of schools do not do it justice. A lot of schools paint history as, like, this textbook level thing that you just talk about, and that you just tell people, this is what happened, this is how this happened, and never really show you some of the interesting bits. They never go out of their way to make it interesting. They just tell you, this is how this happened. I need you to write down on your sheet of paper how all of these things went about, and I need to make sure that you at least have a decent enough wherewithal to be able to at least take everything that I've said and translate it onto paper, right? It's the most annoying shit. Like, it's all about memorization. It's all about having good memory in school, and it's like, you don't need good memory, you need a good story. And if we're talking about memorization, by the way, there is no greater way to memorize something than to find the subject not only actively interesting, but to paint it actively interesting, okay? You have to make that shit stick. How do you make it stick? You tell it in the most amazing, ridiculous way possible. If the fat electrician is not used as a go-to for teaching funny little details in history to school children, we're doing this country a disservice. We are doing this country a disservice. I feel like this guy should be the one teaching history. I feel like he could make history that much more interesting if he was teaching it to a bunch of kids, like, fresh into high school, or even out of elementary school. You would be doing this country a service. But in any case,
addition to all the inflatables and just appearing like a real military unit. And with Morse code, you can tell who the operator is. The way that your hand strikes the little keypad is very much like handwriting or your spoken voice. You can identify different people and different operators. So these Ghost Army Morse code operators would go and sit with the real infantry division's Morse code operators and learn their exact handwriting, so to speak, so that they could mimic it perfectly. They had trucks with gigantic loudspeakers that would blast noises of tanks moving, trucks moving, NCOs yelling at soldiers to put that cigarette out, all kinds of shit to make it look like a real military unit was there. They took a bunch of theater majors, actors, and they would send them out into the nearby towns with the patches of whatever unit they were imitating, and they would go into bars and get drunk and have conversations dropping fake intel about where they're going next.
This is so amazing.
Next, so that German spies would hear about it and relay false information. Every major step the US military had to make, the Ghost Army was there drawing enemy fire the entire time. When Patton finally did return to theater in Operation Cobra, the Ghost Army was there. When US forces crossed the Siegfried Line, the Ghost Army was there drawing enemy fire and German attention so that they could actually cross at the real location. When Allied forces crossed the Rhine River, the Ghost Army was there pretending to build a bridge 10 miles away from where the real Allied forces were crossing. I keep calling them theater kids and art majors like it's an insult. It's not. These guys have the biggest balls on the planet. You know what sucks more than going into combat in a tank and having the Germans try to kill you? Going into combat, having the Germans try to kill you like you are a tank, and you've got a fucking inflatable tank. The Ghost Army is basically the rodeo clowns for the entire US military at this point. The Bull Rider gets all the glory, but the rodeo clowns are in the ring the entire time saving.
They're very much like the school clowns. They are the classroom clowns, you know? And their attempts to stand out and be funny, you know, they unintentionally hurt themselves. It seems pretty appropriate to me.
In everybody's ass.
Thank you!
And to make things worse, this is top secret. They can't tell anybody that's not already in the know, so they have to keep the entire thing under wraps, which means they're constantly running into high-ranking officers from the US military that are asking questions, getting mad at them because they don't think they're supposed to be doing what they're doing, and it just causes a whole mess of issues. My favorite story is the Ghost Army was out on a convoy moving to another location, and some general comes up all pissed off because this unit isn't supposed to be in his AO, and he wants to know what the fuck they're up to. And these guys aren't allowed to tell the general what they're doing, so they fucking lie, and they come up with the best lie ever. They literally tell the general, we're just going around making sure all the street signs are the same size. To which the general is like, why the fuck are you doing that? And they're like, I don't know, man. We just got the orders by our chain of command. They told us to go around and make sure all the street signs are dress right dress so nobody gets lost, which sounds dumb as fuck, but if you were ever in the military, that is the most military thing that would happen, and it 100% would. Okay, if you're not picking up what I'm putting down, I'm trying to tell you that the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops, the Ghost Army, had a tremendous impact on World War II, not just on D-Day, but in the entire European theater.
Nice.
So World War II comes to an end. The Ghost Army is essentially sworn to secrecy. Nobody knows that this even happened until the 1990s. The British find out that
Well,
Garbo got
after the
awarded
war.
Iron Cross, so they're like, oh shit, we should probably give this guy an award too. So they give him the Order of the British Empire, which is the highest ranking award they can possibly give him. Homie literally got MVP playing for both teams. And the Nazis never even found out that he was a double agent. The British then give him a big lump sum
Wait,
of
they
money as a
never
thank you,
did?
And then he's kind of
That's fucking wild. They still never knew. Oh my god. He really is the greatest op of all time. Oh my god. Fucking crazy. They never figured it out. This is truly the best story I've seen yet. No, I say that a lot. I think I'm going to be saying that a lot if I react to more Fat Electrician videos, but this is truly a really phenomenal story. Like, how do they not figure... God, they're so... The incompetence. The incompetence... Like, I know that the Nazis were not the most sound of factions, clearly, obviously, during World War II, but holy shit, with the amount of fuckery they engaged in, you think one of these motherfuckers would have been like, hey, we should probably double check to be sure that this spy is running his operation up to code. Like, even just something as simple as just like, let's just send a guy out there and see how he's doing, you know? Maybe we'll even fuck with him a little bit. Maybe we'll try and test to see how great how good his operation is by just trying to have someone literally infiltrate his organization and basically try to fuck up his spy network. And then when he gets found out, you know, like, we can determine right there and then if he's actually a spy worthy of even paying attention to. Like, they didn't even do shit like this! Like, how the fuck do you do this? It's crazy! This whole thing is crazy. Oh my god. What a story, man. This is great. I'm gonna let this finish, but oh my god.
Worried that Nazi sympathizers are going to track him down and kill him if they find out that he was the double agent that quite literally preemptively end World War II, if not is responsible for winning the entire thing. So in 1949, he fakes his own death and disappears. From here, everybody thinks he's dead for decades. And then 25 years later, a historian hears that he might be alive somewhere in South America and ends up tracking him down, and he's a teacher that owns a bookstore in Venezuela. So the British bring him back over for the 40th anniversary of D-Day. He gets publicly recognized. He's a hero. He finally gets his moment in the sunshine. He gets to go to Normandy and see where all of the battles unfolded. And then, while overlooking one of the cemeteries at Normandy, he said, and I quote, "I knew I saved tens of thousands of lives, but I don't think I did enough." And that is a story of how a chicken farmer from Barcelona and a bunch of theater kids with inflatable tanks helped win World War II. Thank you for watching. Best way to support the channel is go buy some merch over at thefatelectrician.com. Quack bang, out. I've said it once and I will say it again. Don't piss off the farmers. They're dangerous.
I can't! No! forget it.
Oh, one more thing. I actually got the video for this idea when I went to the Spy Museum in Washington, D.C. with Ethan, Mr. Habitual Line Crosser here on YouTube. They actually had one of these inflatable tanks there in an exhibit. Me and Ethan actually have an exclusive show over on Pepperbox called Habitually Fat, where that's all we do is go to different museums all across the country and get guided tours. And that's just one of my exclusive shows there. I also have a show with PewView where me and him shoot a bunch of guns that we're not normally allowed to shoot on YouTube. I have a talk show with Angry Cops, Eli Double Tap, and Habitual Line Crosser called Kinda Consensual. You can even see all of us try to box each other on there. And the best part about it is I'm part owner of the entire streaming service, me and a bunch of other YouTubers, so there's no censorship, there's no ads, there's just one monthly subscription fee, and you can get a 2-week free trial if you wanted to go check it out.
Nice. God, what a story, man. What a story. That shit was wild. This is why I like watching The Fat Electrician. And it's also why it's fun to see people's reactions to some of Fat Electrician's stories, because it really is one of the most he tells the most unique stories in history and war, and he turns it into gold. He basically writes a script of all time, and it's one thing to see it for yourself. It's another thing to see other people's reaction of it and basically just be like, yeah, this shit is good, isn't it? It's just like, fuck yeah, it is. Holy shit, I can't believe this is actually a thing that happened. You know, like, this is exactly why I definitely think we need more people like the Fat Electrician, especially in schools, right? We need to have more people like this in schools who like the subject matter and understand that in order to make a story, like, to make any type of story stick, any type of education stick in young people's minds, like, if we really want to teach the youths how to do, like, about history, about certain literary works, among other things, it needs to be told in an interesting way. This is a guy I would go to be like, how do we tell this in an interesting way for younger audiences to understand? Because he's clearly got it down packed. But anyways, enough of my ramblings. That was How a Chicken Farmer and Inflatable Tanks Won WW2, Agent Garbo and the Ghost Army. Please go support the original video. I currently am adjusting the audio right now in real time, and I don't know what it's looking like. It's a little louder on my end than before, but it's actually doing the job of actually making sure that the fucking audio from the goddamn video doesn't get into my input. But I don't know. Anyways, that being said, thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.